New car sales have run off the fast lane, and there are multiple theories on why that could have happened. One of those is the increase in footfalls that used car showrooms have. Now, many consumers may also have turned to online portals which promise certified pre-owned cars ready to be bought at the click of a button. But is the second-hand car market one factor which could be impacting new car sales? Have there been a proliferation or a set of first-time buyers which are buying second-hand cars because they are more economical to use, and nowadays cars have a longer shelf life? Let's put that question to eminent experts. Start off this conversation with Shashank Srivastava. He's ED Marketing and Sales and Maruti Suzuki joins us right now. Shashank, so good having you. Thank you so much for speaking to us at Bloomberg Quint. This is Neeraj here. Good morning.
Thank you.
What's your sense? You would have an experience of this car market and the second-hand cars, etc. What do you think is happening to the car market currently, and what's happening within the second-hand car market currently?
Yeah, so if you talk of the new car market, first of all, we had a great Q1 last year. I think the industry grew upwards of 20%. And the next 3 quarters have been rather slow, with the result that the new car sale last year, if you look at the retail, grew just around 3%. So what was 20% growth in Q1 came down to 3%. So there was a slowdown in the last 3 quarters of last year, financial year. This year's beginning has also been very bad, as you would have read in the newspapers, and also if you had talked to auto people. So for Maruti, for example, we are roughly around 15-16% in the negative territory in the first 2 months as compared with last year. Of course, last year base was very large. So there are many reasons why people say there is growth, and there is this degrowth. There was some uncertainty as regards because of the election in May and April. And also, the sentiment seems to have been a little dampened by a little bit of a liquidity issue, especially with the NBFCs. As you know, new car sales, we have 80% of cars which are financed. So basically, however, there is no fundamental reason why car sales should be coming down. So these, I believe, are temporary factors, but it's been going on for a few months, in the last few months. As far as the used cars is concerned, you are absolutely right. Used cars has seen a growth. In fact, if you see the estimate for used cars, last year is close to 4 million cars, which is about 1.3 times the new car sale, which was about 3.4 million. Yes, the growth, if you see 3% growth in retail for last year in the industry, the growth for the used car sales was about 20% for us and about 15-16% for the industry by the estimates. So I think the growth in used car sales have been much larger last year, and in fact the previous years as well. Even the first 2 months of this year, as I just mentioned, the industry, the retail has degrown by about 15%, but the used car sales have actually gone up for us by almost 13%.
No, but is that an anomaly?
It is true that these 2 markets have been behaving a little differently.
Okay, no. So I was wondering, is there an anomaly? Because Shashank, if I can just push for it. I mean, I don't know if our numbers are different, but there is a JM Financial report which speaks about the ratio of the used car to the new car sales, and it says it's a constant at 1.2 times for FY16, FY17 and FY19. We don't have FY18 data, but those 3 years, the ratio has remained same at 1.2 times.
Yeah. So it is roughly, actually these are all estimates, and different studies show the ratio to be varying between 1.2 to 1.5 times. Because as you know, new car sales data is absolutely accurate, and it is a thing, but used car sales, much of it is a C2C, and also in the unorganized and the semi-organized sector. Those data may not be perfect, so we can see, yes, you are right, the range has seemed to be fairly constant between 1.2 to 1.5.
Would you expect that to pick up? And part 2 of my question, therefore, is that at a point of time when we are grappling with liquidity issues as well as a slowing economy, are a lot of people who would originally have thought of buying a first-hand car, buying a more economical second-hand car because the lifespan has increased? How many first-time buyers are you seeing at your outlets?
Yeah, so as far as first-time buyers are concerned, for new cars, it has been actually increased in the last couple of years. So I think in a growing economy like India, we must realize that there are a lot of people coming in to buy for the first time. We have a great upside. The number of cars per thousand in India is just around 20. So there's a great upside to that. I don't think, and in India, car purchase is still seen as a status symbol. So I think there would be an increase in long-term new cars, and we are projecting that accordingly. As far as the used cars sales is concerned, if you look at the recent trend, yes, there seems to be some evidence that while the new car sales have slowed down, this has not been reflected in used car. Now, whether it is because of this the used cars has increased is a question mark, but yes, the data does suggest, as I mentioned, last year the retail growth was only 3%, but the growth in used cars was 20%. This year the retail growth is minus 15-16%, but the pre-owned car growth is plus 13%. And also, if you see the city-wise comparison, the top 30 cities contributed, the growth last year was about 15-16% in used cars, but the bottom, the rest of the cities, that is the smaller cities, the tier 3 and tier 4 cities, there the growth was much higher at about 23-24%. So yes, there does seem to be a phenomena of a recalibration in terms of the smaller cities and larger cities, and also in terms of new cars and the used cars.
How many of your buyers in the last 12 months were first-time car buyers? Why, I mean the second-hand car market. How many people were first-time car buyers? I'm trying to get a sense of whether people are comfortable going out and buying a second-hand car which is their first purchase.
Yeah, so I think there are two things to look at it. If you are looking at what does the first-time car buyer buy, that's one question. Then you see if there is in this segment in used car, how many of them are first-time buyers? Almost like 85%, 85 to 88% people in used car buying market are first-time car buyers. But if you look at new car sales for Maruti Suzuki and for the industry also, it's roughly around 45-46%. So yes, there is a lot of first-time buyers who buy cars, used cars. Because it's affordable, and also because there are some people, I think the figure is about 15-20% who buy the car because they just want to keep it for a short time and then they buy into a new car later on.
Okay. Well, joining us on the conversation is M. Sathiyanarayan of Mahindra First Choice Wheels as well. Sathiyanarayan, we were just talking about, thanks for joining in, of course. We were just talking to Shashank Srivastava of Maruti Suzuki about how is the ratio looking like. Now for Maruti as well, the ratio of used car to new cars, or at least the used car buyers, have gone up in the last year quite disproportionately compared to the previous past. What has been your experience, and what's been pricing like, considering the fact that the first-hand car market pricing has come off, discounts have increased? Is it hitting the second-hand car used market?
Okay, so basically, I will take the first part of the question. In terms of the ratio, what we are projecting basically is the used car market for the financial year F19 is almost 4 million vehicle units actually. And if you left to like comparison to a new car market, it's almost 1 is to 1.2 is a kind of a ratio that we are observing right now. And even if you see that the new car market is not, is not it's not growing at the right rate, but the used car market has an advantage because there is a lot of buyers who are moving from two-wheelers to cars, and they have a very strong reason for purchasing a used car first. So as my fellow panelist was saying, that majority of used car buyers, or first-time car buyers, moving from owning a two-wheeler, and that particular market is, looking at a car at a price bracket of 3 to 4 lakhs, and that is a very nice, place to be in, and that is what is helping us grow the used car market.
Actually, that's an important point too. I'm just wondering if the used car market can disrupt the original car market in one way. Shashank, come in on this. There was a guest who was telling me these statistics. You would have a better sense here, but that India is a market wherein 80% of the people might not, or X number of percentage of people might not have a vehicle. They might move on to two-wheelers as the first choice. From two-wheelers, they'll graduate to a small car and then to a premium car. My question is, this move of graduation from two-wheelers
absolutely
to a small car, will it happen at the second-hand car market first, more now compared to in the past, and therefore will it hit, or will the whole expectation of the increased sales of the small cars from the OEM level come down because the second-hand market is now a lot better than what it used to be?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I think it's a very important question which the industry has to address. And the answer is not simple. It's complicated because there's not just one factor which is working for new car sales or the used car sales. You're absolutely right. Most of the people who upgrade themselves from the two-wheeler into the used car market and subsequently into a new car, they might hold on for a longer period of time if the economy remains sluggish, or if the sentiments of buying new car prevail as they are prevailing at the moment. So in that case, the holding time for used cars also will go up, and consequently buying of the new cars will have an effect on the buying of the new cars. But having said that, our sense is that while there seems to be some statistical truth in this fact that it does point out that the used car market seems to be doing much better than the new car market, but I think the factors affecting them are separate. And I think even in the new car market, as I just mentioned last year, the first-time buyer in the industry increased. The other thing which I also feel is impacting is the increased level of incomes which the new car buyers also have, the first-time car buyers, and therefore we have found in our portfolio the first-time car buyers also buying not just small cars but going towards the smaller sedans as well. So that is also, by the way, reflected in the used car market. In fact, 75% of the market for used cars is small hatch and small sedans, and that also is actually the same ratio as in the new car market. So I think the problem is a little more complicated, and I think the factors which affect the used car market, factors which affect the new car market do exist, but not to that great extent. So I think it's more the other way, that when the sentiment is down and when people do require a car for upgradation from two-wheeler, they would probably choose the used car route rather than going directly into buying the new car.
Okay. Sathiyanarayan, the other factor to this is more immediate in nature. The post BS6, do you think that the second-hand car market could become stronger, even if temporarily, because of the increased price difference between a BS6 compliant first-hand car versus a second-hand car which is not necessarily BS6 compliant or BS4 compliant, and therefore the price is not gone up so much?
Intuitively, you tend to guess that, because of the car pricing going up in the new car market, the used car sales has to go up. That is the intuitive guess that we are all having. But we have to wait and see in terms of what is going to happen, because, generally, if you see the way the sales is happening even in the new car market, there are certain segments that are affected in terms of numbers. So there are certain segments like compact SUVs that is still growing. So there is no clear understanding of what is happening, and hence I would see wait and watch, because intuitively, yes, we feel that because of the impact of BS6 prices going up, the demand for the same models in the used car market can go up. But I do not have a definitive answer, because we have to wait and watch and see what happens.
Would you gentlemen believe, and Sathiyanarayan, my final question to you and then to Shashank, would you gentlemen believe that the ratio of the used car to the new car will move up over the course of the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, simply because the life of a vehicle by itself is just gone up over the years? Sathiyanarayan, to you first.
Yes, definitely, because the ratio depends upon the car park and what is the availability of good vehicles in the market. So hence what is the transaction has to go up. But as my fellow panelist was saying, that we are also observing that people are holding on to their cars for a longer period of time than they were doing, say, in the past financial year. So if, the economy is moving good and people are, migrating from one particular model to other particular model in 3 to 4 years, then of course the organized players are coming in, giving transparency to the used car market. I think the ratio has to go up, because a used car acts as a very nice intermediate between two-wheelers and new cars.
Okay, Shashank, final question of this conversation to you as well. You briefly alluded to it. I'm just wondering, the whole idea of this whole conversation was one, to get a sense from you guys about how is the second-hand car market doing and whether the second-hand car market in India has the potential to eat into the first-hand car market. How would you sum up that?
Yeah, so I would agree with Sathiyanarayan there that my expectation is that the ratio of the used car to the new car market will go up. And in fact, in most countries, even in developed countries, it is upward of 2.0. So I think there is a lot of. However, I must add one point which I think is critical and which everybody should understand, is that in India the used car market is often limited by the supply constraint rather than on the demand constraint. So the supply constraint, for example, you referred to the BS6. So it is possible that if the prices go up substantially and there is this reduction in people might hold on to the cars for a longer period of time, the supply in the used car market might actually not be at the rate at which the demand is there. So I think that one factor is the question mark, and I think that is where. But structurally, and I think intuitively also, I would expect the ratio of used cars to new cars to go up from this present level of 1.2 upwards, I think, to around 1.7, 1.8 in the next 2-3 years.
Okay, one can safely surmise though that the last 6 months, it's not that the used car market is eating into the new car market. It's a lot of other factors which are at play out here. Gentlemen, both of you, Shashank Srivastava and M. Sathiyanarayan, thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us today on Bloomberg Quint. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this leg of Indian Open. Keep in mind that the markets are still holding on, about 0.25% for the Sensex. That's the index that is up about 0.22%. IndusInd Bank is the top performer, 1423. There's some strength in HDFC. But the stocks that we should monitor, one is Indiabulls Housing Finance, and that must be down. Yes, it is down about 2 percentage points. Bring up Diwan Housing, bring up Yes Bank. 3 names. Yes Bank is down, Diwan Housing is down. Also bring up HDFC AMC, bring up Jet Airways, both of those stocks in focus. HDFC AMC is down 5%. Keep that at the back of your mind. And Jet Airways locked on a 10% downtick, so that one continues to grind. And the metal stocks, the globally exposed metal stocks, are looking slightly wobbly as well. It's a wrap on this leg of Indian Open. The FNO show takes forward the action on the other side. Thanks so much for watching.